In this video I'm going to demonstrate the new dynamic FX features in the Artisan Max plugin and also give you a quick walkthrough the new plugin that combines the Artisan Pro panel with the Quick Mask Pro panel, plus some new features that are exclusive for the Artisan Max plugin only. All other features in the Artisan Max plugin have already been covered extensively and in depth in all the separate Artisan and Quick Mask videos on this channel. You will find some links in the description below. So, quick walkthrough, since the layout has obviously changed in the Combo plugin and the new dynamic FX feature. What you see is that everything now has a more logical layout, comparable to my processing workflow, which you can see here. So you see here in my fine art processing workflow on a high level that I always start up with the masking after the figure ground analysis, then the ground, so lower contrast in the ground and also lower contrast in the figure, and then bring back details in the figure and in the ground and create some depth per plane. So that corresponds with what you see here in the panel. So you start off with the masks, this part, then you go to conversions for black and white, then you go to the adjustments, this part and that part. So I'll show you that. So here you have the global adjustments with which you can lower the contrast and make it darker or lighter or mid-key. After you've done that, then you basically go back to your ground and your figure and bring back the details and bring back the light and the creation of depth per plane. So that is basically this creation of depth per plane, step 10, that can be inserted everywhere between step 3 and 9. And adjustments, so basically the Pro adjustments that I would use to bring back details and light and shadow in the ground and the figure. That's my preferred feature, but most people would use advanced adjustments. So basically you go here, masks, this part, conversions, then the adjustments, first the global adjustments, which you only do once, and then you go to either Pro adjustments or to advanced adjustments or microzone adjustments. So those adjustments, the Pro, the advanced and the microzone adjustments, you will do all the time in here, plus the creation of depth. So that's basically corresponding with my workflow with this panel. So it's very logical. And now let's go to the new dynamic FX feature. So first a heads up, there are so many features built into this plugin to accommodate the most demanding black and white artists, and I am one of them, that you can easily get lost in a combination of possible features you can use. So try to keep it simple. Most important principle is to be able to blend in any adjustment seamlessly with its adjacent area. And there are several ways accomplishing this with a panel. The simplest way is with a lasso tool and then darken and lighten in advanced adjustments. You can darken and lighten too with Pro adjustments, but there are more manual steps involved, like creating new layer yourself and adding auto blend. So let me start off with the advanced adjustments. So go here. So suppose that you have this image and you want to lighten this part. You can simply make a lasso tool selection like that, and then click on lighten with smart linear default or with strict. That's all explained in one of the other videos. And let's do the strength at 1 and just lighten. So what will happen then is it will create a new layer itself, and this will be lightened in a very seamless kind of way. So if I deselect the selection, you will see that this is before, this is after. I can zoom in and you will see it's very, very subtle. So before, after. Obviously you don't see any edges. So that is the simplest way. And there's also another way of doing this similar kind of adjustment. But then you have to go to Pro adjustments, and what you need to do then is do basically the same kind of selection, like so, a random lasso tool selection, and then if you don't set it to auto blending and just lighten, then you will see this. You see, it's a hard edge. It doesn't look good. So in this case, if you use a lesser tool selection, you have to set it to auto blending. Okay, let me go back first and do it all over again. Alright, now create a new layer. Because with the Pro adjustments, you have to do everything manually. So including the step of creating a new layer. Because the thing is with the Pro adjustments that it can be used in layer mode, but it can also be used in channel mode if you want to adjust your channels. So that's why you have to do all the steps manually. So I've created that new layer, and now I'm going to reload that selection. Let me set it to 1 because I think 2 is a little bit too strong. So lighten with strength of 1. With the auto blending on. So now you see the result. I'll deselect the selection and see that it is also there. So what you can also do instead of turning on the auto blending is using the restore, which is something that I like to do. But the restore only works in rectangular selections, like so. Okay, let me create a new layer first again. So, new layer, because I'm working in Pro adjustment mode. Now reload that selection. And I'm gonna lighten it, like so. So you see here now that it has been lightened with a strange edge. But then you go to depth, and there you see the restore features. Now you can restore it from all sides, like so, from the top down, from right to left, and from left to right. And then you have something like this, and it looks like this. So that is actually my preferred way of working with the restore feature. And it might surprise you, but I find it in my own experience that you have more control with the restore feature using rectangular selection instead of accurate, or let's say more precise kind of lesser tool selection that will follow a specific kind of shape. I prefer to use the rectangular marquee tool. Okay, so that is what you can do to make sure that your adjustments will blend smoothly and seamlessly with the rest of the adjacent area. So those were the most important ways of adjusting an area and making sure that it blend in smoothly with its adjacent area. So that is using either the advanced adjustments with the random lasso tool selection with an automatic kind of feathering and blending in with the adjacent area, or you can use Pro adjustments and then use again a random lasso tool selection, then set it to auto blending, or use a rectangular marquee tool selection and then perform a restore with the creating of depth feature, and then use the restore arrows that you see in here. But now we've added the dynamic effects, and you can find the dynamic effects under Pro adjustments here and here. You can also find it under advanced adjustments there, and you can find it under creating depth there. So basically only in 3 major sections. And the reason for that is actually because we believe, or I believe, that you should only do the dynamic effects adjustments at the very end of your workflow. So after you've done all the masking, of course, the conversions and the global adjustments, and then you only do the more local adjustments, and you can do the local adjustments with either the advanced adjustments, the Pro adjustments, or the microzone adjustment. But for the microzone adjustments, you don't need a dynamic effects. So dynamic effects only in Pro adjustments, advanced adjustments, and creating depth. So I would always recommend using dynamic effects in the last phases of your workflow. So suppose that, okay, I'm going to get rid of this. Suppose that I want to lighten this here. So I'm going to turn on the auto blending. I'm going to turn on dynamic effects. And I'm going to, I was about to say I want to create a new layer, but if you do dynamic effects, it will create automatically a new transparent layer. So that is the only exception on the Pro adjustments, that you don't have to create a new duplicate layer, because when you turn on dynamic effects, it will do that automatically. So with dynamic effects, you can do basically something like this. And you can say, I want to lighten it. Auto blending is turned on. The dynamic effects is also turned on. Now you can do this. And be aware, with dynamic effects, the effects are a little bit stronger than without dynamic effects. So I set the strength to 1. So now you see that it has created a new transparent layer. Okay, looks like this. And you can see that the edges are very smooth. So if you want to move around the selection, make sure that you deselect the selection first, because if you are moving around the selection right now while the selection is still active, then you get to see this. Then you see that hard edge. So don't do that. So always deselect the selection first, and now you can move it around. As you can see, I can move it around everywhere, even like so, a little bit lower on the horizon. Click OK, and then this is what you see. It's a very smooth transition, and it's a very beautiful, interesting effect, I think. So let me do that again now for this part. Again, dynamic effects turned on, auto blending turned on, and now I want to darken it just a little bit. Okay, it has darkened there. Okay, now I want to move it around, and again you have to deselect the active selection first, and now you can move it around with free transform. Let me do it a little bit like that. There you see it. So it's all very seamless, very smooth, very subtle. I can zoom in. You can actually see what's happening there. Okay, so that is what you can do with the dynamic effects. But be aware, once you've done dynamic effects, you can turn it off, but it will keep creating transparent layers when you are in a specific mode, like advanced mode or creating depth mode. Of course, not under Pro adjustment mode, because then you have to create the manual layers yourself. But you can turn it off, but it will keep creating transparent layers instead of normal layers. So if you want to switch back and forth from dynamic mode to normal mode, you have to merge down the layer first to make it normal. But that's why I always recommend to only use dynamic effects in the final phases, when you've used the normal mode and don't intend to go back there again. So then you only have to use the transparent layer mode, which is dynamic effects mode. So let me show you what happens if you don't pay attention to that. So let me go to, for example, advanced adjustments, because here you always create new layers. And suppose that I've turned it off. And I create a new lasso tool selection. I'm going to lighten it, so dynamic effects turned off. And then you'll see that it will create a new transparent layer that will amplify everything else as well. So that's not what you want. So make sure that before you do that, so I'm going to get rid of this. And then I'm going to merge this down first. And then I'm going to merge it down with this layer so that it becomes a normal layer. But before I do that, I duplicate this normal layer first. So then I can merge this down. So now I have the selections in there. And now I can just do something like that. And then let's say I'm going to darken it. And then all is well. Okay. And then you can still go back to dynamic effects. And then let's say lighten it. But again, if I turn it off, so I expect a normal layer, then you have to merge it down first. So don't mix those options too much. Just be consistent, just be consequential, that you only use the dynamic effects mode at the very end if you want to move around with some adjustments. And in the meantime, just use the normal mode and only use this at the very end. And if you're still going to use it interchangeably, so dynamic effects turn on and off, then make sure after you've turned it off to merge it down to a normal layer. So there's another new feature in the Artisan Max plugin, and that is the new Luminosity Mask feature. So basically, if you want to create lights, you have to click on the L for the full values, half values, quarter values, and then you can remove them with just one click with the minus. Same for the midtones and the darks. But now you can create them all at once by clicking on LMD. So it will create all full values for the lights, the midtone, and the dark luminosity mask. Let me show you. And then you can get rid of them all at once. So please be aware that if you create too many layers, too many channels, Adobe has a maximum of 53 new channels. So in total 57 with the RGB channels included. So 53 channels is the max, so you cannot create more than that. And if you try to create more than that and you try working on your photo, then your computer or Photoshop will crash and you will lose all your work. So don't do that. That is the luminosity mask that has also been added to the new Artisan Max plugin. So let me give you one final demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few light luminosity masks, like so with the quarter values, while using the background original color layer. Go here. What I want to do is to add a little bit of light back in there. So I'm just going to evaluate them. And then I say, okay, you know what? I just want to bring back some light here in the lake. So I'm going to use 325 for that. Okay, I'm going to use that. I'm just going to duplicate that channel and get rid of the rest. So now I'm going to go to Pro Adjustments and let me turn on the dynamic effects so it will create a new transparent layer automatically, which doesn't happen if it's turned off. Then you have to create the new layer manually yourself, and it's not transparent, but now it will create a new transparent layer. So let me select this. All right, and now I'm going to intersect that with the loaded luminosity mask, light 325. Intersect that. Okay, gives you this warning message. Just ignore that. And now just lighten it. And it will create a new layer there. So let me try to lighten it even more, because it's not strong enough. Okay. Well, it can be a little bit stronger. So I'll do a few iterations. Normally, I would go with something like 5 to 10 iterations. So let me go with 5. I'm just going to merge them down, make it one. Okay. You see that? That's the effect there. I can zoom in so you can see how subtle it is. Okay, now if I want to, I can move it around, and be aware, make sure that the selection is deactivated. So even though you cannot see it, it might still be on. So I'm just making sure that it's deselected. And now I can move around the adjustment. So free transform. I can move it a little bit to the left, to the right. I just go a little bit to the bottom, like so. So now you see before, after, before, after. I can zoom in. You see that the light effect has moved from here to lower. From there, and then moved it around a little bit. And you can see no edges, no strange transitions. It's very subtle. Okay, let me do the same, but now for darkening. Okay, I'm going to create a new luminosity mask. So I'm going to create a few dark luminosity masks. Alright, going to check them out. Let's say that I want to darken here a little bit. So I'm just going to find the luminosity mask that will do the job for me. Something like this. Okay, 570. No, that's 475, but maybe 525. I think this is good. I'm going to duplicate the channel. If you want to know how I evaluate luminosity mask and why I choose this one, you have to look at one of the other videos that I've created also on this YouTube channel. It has all been explained before. You just have to find the right kind of video. So I'm going to use Darks 475. And again, I'm going to use Pro Adjustments, set it to Dynamic Effects, Auto Blending. I'm just going to select this area. Alright. And now I'm going to intersect it with a Darks 475. Intersect. So it should create a new layer. Transparent layer. So typically I would go with 3, 4, 5 iterations. Okay, I do that many. Okay, now I'm going to deselect the selection. So, and then I'm also going to merge it down. So these are the darkening effects, and this was only the lightening effect. Also the luminosity mask intersected. This is darkening. Let me show you from up close. A bit closer. Darkening effect. I'm gonna zoom in more than 100%. Before, after. So it's all very subtle. Now I can move it around. I already made sure that it's deselected. So now I'm gonna go to Edit, Free Transform, and I can move it around. It still looks quite good. Okay, that was it. And thank you for watching.